Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Missing Frames. This is the podcast where we watch all the movies we should have seen by this point in our lives. I'm your host, Shawn Eastridge. We are hanging out on the Nerd Party Network, a collection of podcasts dedicated to all things nerdy. Go check it out at thenerdparty.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Join Nerd Party, and make sure you're liking the Facebook page and following us on Instagram. It's just the Nerd Party. And I am delighted to welcome back to the show Carley Cooper after a long absence, though not as long as we usually do, I would say. I think we're doing better. We're improving.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long, really.
You don't sound sure at all about this. I was hoping you were going to be like, that's right, Shawn, we're doing real good. And you're like, nah, I don't know. You're basically saying you want to be the host of Missing
all the
Frames.
time. No, I have no sense of time anymore.
So I could have just been like, yeah, it was great having you on last week. And you would have been
I would have been like, it sure was.
So I need to stop calling attention to this, but this is good. I think this is better. I feel like, well, I'll just take it upon myself to remind you that it hasn't been as long as I think the stretch between our previous episodes. So this is good.
I would believe you are correct, sir.
You would believe either way. Well, this is great. And we're going to be, I feel like I introduced you to the movie Clue, which is a wonderful episode. Everyone should go listen to that. But I feel like you've been taking charge of the introductions lately, because you introduced me to Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yes,
and
I did.
Some Like It Hot and the 7-Year Itch. And was there anything else? I feel like it's been a lot. You've been guiding the way. So it's my turn to kind of take the reins back. And since it's spooky season and Halloween is coming up, we were talking about horror movies, and you're a makeup person. You're into horror stuff. You do amazing work with that. And there's a very, very famous horror movie that you have not seen called...
There are quite a few.
There are quite a few. But this is the one you said, and it was like, oh, we're doing this. And that's The Shining. It's this movie. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
It's a true classic from what I hear.
From what I understand on the internet, they call it.
The amount of memes... I have a lot of imagery that is unrelated to the context.
Do you have a favorite meme? Can you think of it?
I guess just what's his face? Okay, it's Jack Nicholas or Jack Nicholson. Which one's the golfer?
Yes.
I screw those up all the time.
This is so good. This is authentic, knows nothing about The Shining. Not even if we don't know if it's Jack Nichols. We don't know if it's Jack Nicholson. It's one of the guys. We don't know.
The one who doesn't golf and is in all the movies, and but he's coming out through the door with his face all creeped out. And then there are the twins. I know there's a hotel.
Yeah.
It's a wintry. I believe
Wonderland.
It takes place in winter.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, you said Stanley Kubrick. I wouldn't have guessed that was the director either.
Now, have you seen? Are you familiar with Stanley Kubrick?
Yeah, I've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay, and did you enjoy it?
That movie is, it's brilliant in many facets.
Just say you didn't like it. It's okay. This is a safe space.
I was bored, but I couldn't look away at the same time. It was like I was stuck. I felt like I was on drugs because you're like, I don't. You just have no control. You can't stop it. It just happens to you. So I'm excited about that, and I feel like this will have a little more action going on. Maybe I'm wrong. I assume there will probably be a lot of long shots that hold on things for a long time, and a lot of panning around and zooming in and out.
You were kind of like, I don't know anything about this movie. I don't know anything about Stanley Kubrick. And so far you've described many of the things, the elements in the film, like the winter, and the hotel, and the twins.
Yeah, but
and all the Kubrick, the staple Kubrick moves, like the the long shots and the slow zooms and the
You know what? I
creepiness and all
guess
that
once
stuff.
you've seen one Kubrick, you've seen them all.
Oh, you heard it here first, Missing Framers. I will say I love Stanley Kubrick. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. 2001 is one of my favorite movies. I will not argue with anyone who says it's boring, but I love it so much. I think it's a masterpiece.
It's a brilliant film for a lot of reasons, and I understand why people like it.
Don't try to
No,
step back.
I even
Don't
said
try
it's
to.
great for many reasons. I prefaced it with that before I said I was bored, but it, you know, like I like boring movies sometimes too. Not everybody does.
This is what you say to like somebody you went on a date with and you don't want to see again. You're like, look, there are many great things about you, but I was bored. I'm never going out with you again.
You know,
Yeah.
you gotta be honest. So.
You gotta be real. No, that's good. That's what we want. And I'm a big Stanley Kubrick fan. I'm also a big Stephen King fan, and you told me you did not know this was a Stephen King property.
You know, and that just went right out the window again, because I was like, wait.
You were hoping I wouldn't bring that up.
No, not even that. It was just like, wait, Stanley Kubrick did this. So in my mind, this was like an original.
I mean, to be fair, without spoiling it, and obviously you haven't read the book, you haven't
Clearly,
seen the movie, but
no.
I will say this pretty much. There are obvious similarities. There are plot details that are similar, but in general, it is very much Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, to the point where Stephen King was very, very vocal about not loving the movie and
doesn't
the
that
decisions.
happen to Stephen King a little bit, that like somebody takes an idea of his and it's like, I want to make this, and then they don't do it how he wants, and then he's like, I don't want my name on that, and they put his name on it anyways?
I can't think of. I'm sure you're right.
Lawnmower Man.
Did he write the story for Lawnmower Man?
I'm probably wrong now.
Don't know. We know nothing. We have zero expertise.
Hold on,
between the two of us.
I'm gonna Google that really quick.
Yeah, Google that. And in general, like there are some of the Stephen King adaptations out there.
Yes, it is Stephen King's Lawnmower Man. Okay. So I wasn't wrong about that. But he wanted nothing to do with that and was like, I'm suing you guys, take my name off of it. And they did it anyways.
So he didn't go that far with The Shining, maybe because The Shining was like more renowned and Kubrick is, Kubrick is a master and whatever. But like, in general, I think like there's the Shawshank Redemption, there's Stand By Me. There's some really, really great Stephen King adaptations. This is the one that I feel like is the most notorious as far as King's negative opinion of it, because of the fact that people love this movie so much. But it is we'll talk about it in the after portion once you've seen the film, but there are some very specific things that happen in the film version that are basically a big fu to the book, like that Kubrick specifically put in as kind of a like, yeah, no, we're doing it my way, not your way, sorry.
Well, that seems rude, but I mean,
can you get away with it when you're Stanley Kubrick though? I guess you can.
I guess you can. You can probably get away with that and a lot more. So
yeah, yes, exactly. So
just cash your check, Stephen King, and
just enjoy it.
Yeah,
just accept it. Be happy.
Sit back and collect those residuals.
Yeah, just like the rest of us. But I saw The Shining. God. I think I saw it my first or second year of film school, and it was when I was really I think you and I were very similar, where growing up we were like very afraid of horror movies. I know that's stupid to say, that's redundant. You're supposed to be afraid of horror movies, but I think in general, like, I just avoided them. I didn't want to watch them.
I didn't like being scared. I didn't like thinking about that. I would have like weird dreams, and I just like when you watch, I feel like oftentimes, like when you watch a movie, it's at like night before you go to bed, or like just at night because it's darker. And for some reason, like sitting in the dark watching something that creeped me out just didn't interest me.
Yeah. Well, that was the same thing with me. Is it was just a genre that didn't excite me at all. And I think when I went to film school and started watching more and exploring more genres and just different kinds of films, I think I was like getting into the works of Stanley Kubrick, and I thought, well, I
Yeah.
might as well do this. I might as well give it a shot. And I watched it, and I thought it was amazing. It blew me away, and I loved it. And I think it kind of opened the doors to my appreciation for horror in general. But I thinking of horror as like a genre where it's like, oh, it's like slashers and people murdering, and it's all like it's gore focused,
Right.
and it's just nasty. But like really starting to understand, like, oh, this is just as valuable an art form as any other genre of cinema. Like if you do it right, you do it appropriately, this can be just as powerful an experience as anything. And I think that
Totally.
this
And
was a huge part in that education for me.
yeah, I mean, I feel like I definitely appreciate horror now. I have like a much different appreciation for it now too, just because of like working on stuff. But
Yeah.
aside from that, there are still movies that like horror stuff that I don't really like, and that kind of like horror movie I don't really like. Like I don't like Saw or
Yeah.
like the Purge movies. Like I
Well,
don't really
anything that's like
care.
anything that's torture porn or things like that, I don't really like. I'm kind of like, okay, I got like I saw the first Saw and I was like, all right, whatever. Like it just
Yeah.
is kind of. It's also not scary to me. It's just like kind of icky and like gross. And there's
Mm-hmm.
something more intriguing and engaging to me about films like The Shining, where it's it's a little more psychological, it's more visual. There's like an no offense to the Saw guys if you're listening, but like there's an actual like talent behind the camera where it's engaging and you're fascinated, and it's clear there's like cinematic mastery happening that you are witnessing, and you can appreciate the craft that goes into it. And I think some of the more janky horror films, especially like the tossed off ones, like the ones you were saying, like The Purge. Again, no offense to the Purge guys if you're listening, or even fans
No,
if you're
and
listening
I
to these movies.
understand why people appreciate that. I really don't like watching that stuff. And
Yeah.
I understand like the style and the art form and whatever, and like I can have an appreciation for people liking that. It's just I don't.
You're not
I'm
into
the
it.
same way with action movies. I know this is controversial, but I don't really like I don't I don't like them. I don't get excited about
What's
them.
your favorite Stanley Kubrick action movie?
Does he do action movies?
No, he doesn't. No,
Well,
no, that
trick
was
question.
you
Yeah,
got
I
it. Yeah, you
passed. I
figured it.
passed.
See, you're smart. You're I guess I mean maybe Paths of Glory. I don't know if that's an
It would
action
just
movie
be a
though.
bunch of like slow motion car crashes or like a train like slow motion running over people.
Well, I will say this, do brace your like Shining is certainly a hypnotic film like 2001.
Okay.
I don't think it's not as slow as 2001, but it's certainly slow paced. And I think if you're expecting like really crazy, insane, like, oh my god, I'm going to be terrified and things are going to be jumping at, it's not
No.
that kind of movie. I'll
Yeah,
say
that's
that much.
great. That's
Yeah.
great. Because I wasn't thinking too much that it was going to be that after you said that Stanley Kubrick did it. Before I had maybe expected a little more jumpy stuff. Um, but so yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So what's taken so long? Is it just a movie you're kind of like, "Oh yeah, The Shining, maybe I'll get to it someday. Maybe someday Sean will make me watch it on Missing Frames." Or was it just like you were never really
No, okay,
interested?
so
Like
here's the
even
thing.
okay.
I I am a weird person and
But we
I
love you. We love
yeah.
you, Carly.
No, that's fine, but I treat like
That's fine.
film the same way that a lot of people maybe treat music, and
Okay.
I'll watch or listen to the same things like over and over and over again.
Sometimes
Um
you'll watch and listen to something at the same time
Sean, yes. Yeah, sometimes I have the luxury of doing both, but
when you're ready. Yeah.
yeah.
When you're in
Uh
the right headspace.
so I my algorithms on all of my streaming things are set, for my interest in the fact that I, will like repeat stuff. And I don't get a lot of suggestions for those, like the horror or whatever. So it doesn't really pop
Mhm.
up for me. And I've never like been with any like in a group or oh, we're gonna watch a movie, hey, let's watch The Shining. Like it just
Right.
hasn't come up in my life.
It's not something that you've been like, oh, I've got to go watch that. It's sort of more like, oh, well, if it happens, it'll happen.
Yeah, right. That's and then once we started doing this podcast, I believe in the list of like all these movies, you're like, hey, if any of these, like these are like good ones, like let me know which ones you haven't seen. This was on that list, so I've also kind of intentionally avoided it for a little while.
You did that for me?
Well, subconsciously. I mean, now that I'm saying it out loud, it also didn't come up. So
you're like, no. Well, is it something you're looking forward to watching? Like, is this something you're excited to check off?
I'm glad I can check this off because it is, it is a very popular film. I know that people get very excited about it. I know that the hotel that they filmed it at, or like there is a hotel that looks like the one they filmed it at. They hire a guy that looks like the not golfer man, walking around the hotel, like, and he, is like, oh look, it's Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholas.
It's either Jack. It's just Jack. They couldn't afford Jack Nicholson lookalike, so they just do Jack Nicholas lookalike.
Yeah, they just get Jack. That guy Jack.
Just a guy named Jack. They're
yeah,
like,
Jack,
and everyone's like, who the hell? Who's Jack?
That's John
this
Smith.
Is good.
Yeah,
that's John Smith. Yeah, just watch out for him.
Yeah.
But okay, well, good. Do you want to try to take a stab at what you think the plot is? I know you said twins, hotel.
Okay.
Do you want to try to put everything together and see if you can't figure it out?
Okay, this I think is what the hotel. What happens? Okay, because we also said it's winter.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that some people go to this hotel, and there's like probably some kind of like wintry storm, like a blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
And then some like shenanigans happen with some ghost kids, or maybe those kids are just guests of the hotel and they're extra creepy.
They're just very creepy, yeah.
But I think they get stuck there and it's haunted, and I think they get scared, and Jack, I'll just say that because I know that's correct. I just can't get the last name straight.
Yeah, no, you're good.
He goes crazy. And I only say that because of his face in that picture. Like seems crazy.
Jack Nicholson has a crazy face in general, but okay, sure.
Okay, yeah, he goes crazy, and maybe he like murders everybody.
Okay. This is a good plot description. It's a good guess.
I think he murders those two little girls, and then he's like crazy in the hotel, and they're ghosts now.
Okay. Well, this could or could not be the plot of The Shining.
Yeah,
we will. We'll have to watch it and find out.
Now,
were you about to ask me if I could guess?
No. I'm just thinking about the title, The Shining, and what that means.
Well, you will find out. That's not like a weird term that is just sort of like, oh, it sounds strange. You will actually find out what shining is in the film. I can promise.
Is it like the shining of the moon? And is he a werewolf?
I wouldn't want to spoil any of the surprises for you.
It's not a werewolf movie. I feel like I would know
It's not a werewolf movie. I'm sorry. I will spoil that. It's not a werewolf movie.
Because then I would be really
Haunted
excited.
Hotel, yes. Werewolves, no.
Yeah, okay. And I know the twins, and they're creepy. Yep. So
they're creepy. Yep.
Yeah. I think
okay.
I think I think it'll be fun. Is it a long movie, Shawn?
It's long, yeah. We're talking 2.5 hours. You might,
I'm gonna have to maybe break it up, do a sitting or two.
To. We'll get it done. It's gonna happen, and it'll be amazing.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
You sound ready. You sound like you're like, why are you even talking to me about this, Shawn? I just want to watch Jack Nichols. I don't even know what you're incorrect. I keep forgetting Nicholas. Let's go watch Jack Nicholas.
Okay, so Jack Nicholson is correct. Jack
Nicholson is the correct pronunciation of that man's name.
I will hopefully not mess
know
that
this.
up again. You know? No. Like, and the thing
There's
is
no
I know
coming
his
back
face,
from that.
and I can tell you a whole bunch of movies that man has been in, but every once in a while, I just get it screwed up, and I can't remember who's the golfer and who's...
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm
I don't know what to
terrible
say.
with names, Shawn. I'm so
Well,
bad with
I
names.
am too. Anyone who's listened to Missing Frames knows I butcher every name I try to pronounce. So you're in good company.
Yeah.
Let's go watch The Shining, and we'll be
Okay.
back to find out what you thought about it and how close your predictions are. So stay tuned, people.
Now available to own on video cassette.
And we're back. Carley Cooper has now seen Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. And how does she feel? Carley, tell the audience.
I've seen it, and I loved it. I don't
Yes.
understand it, but I love it.
That makes me happy. That makes me so
it was
happy.
Great. It was absolutely fantastic. And I know I said, like, oh man, 2.5 hours, I'm gonna have to break it up. I couldn't. I just kept watching. I was tired, but I was like, no.
It's hypnotic. That's what Kubrick does. Even like his slower movies, you're just so hypnotized, and you're like, I could either fall asleep or I will never blink again.
Yeah, and
for the duration.
I wasn't bored like I was in 2001, and I think a big part of it is like I really appreciate set design. So, and in 2001 A Space Odyssey, like with it being the spaceship, and I don't know, like it's not my genre or my favorite thing, but like watching them like show all these crazy shots of the hotel or the beautiful scenery, or like there was stuff for me to look at even in those like long shots, but they were also like there was a lot going on in some of them, like when the kid was on the tricycle.
Yes. I mean, there's tons of that. And this is the first film not the first film to use a Steadicam. I think the first film to ever use the Steadicam was Rocky, when they had the shot of Sylvester Stallone running up the stairs in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay.
But The Shining is the movie that really utilized it as a legitimate storytelling, like a cinematic tool to tell the story, because you have all these continuous shots of, like you said, riding around on the tricycle and just like the movement through the hallways and that smooth motion. And it's kind of like otherworldly. But The Shining was like the first movie to really utilize the Steadicam in that way. And it's so effective, and it's so like, it just contributes to the mood so well. But it is, I feel like this is the perfect movie to use that.
Definitely. And like I'm very confused about what actually happened.
Yeah.
And
well, in terms of like, but also bringing it back to 2001, I think The Shining, at the end of the day, there's a story that you follow. Like, there are characters and there are things that, like, whereas 2001 is very fixated on kind of the visuals and the tone, and there isn't really a story per se until the end. Like, The Shining, it's like you have the setup. It's like, oh, they're going to the creepy hotel and they're going to be caretakers, and Jack Nicholson is insane and clearly going to murder his family and all these things. So
especially the way that like you meet his family with the little boy. Honestly, that little boy is a phenomenal actor.
Oh,
like,
he's amazing.
He was so good, and him being Tony and everything. Like, he was so good. And like when you meet him, and the mother is explaining, oh, he did have this accident. It wasn't my husband's fault. He just kind of grabbed him a little too hard. And you like initially think, oh, okay, it's like a family, whatever. And then you start to find out this kind of little dark history that they have. And I really like the way that they introduced all of those people.
Yeah, I think some of the best horror films, or at least my favorite horror films, they take their time setting up the world so that when the weird stuff starts to happen, it's almost more terrifying. Because you've taken such strides to establish, like, this is the space, this is the world, here are the rules, here are the real people who occupy this space. It's not like exaggerated. The one thing this movie does have that's a little like, well, wait a second, that's weird, is the idea of shining and like the psychic people who are tapped into something supernatural and they can communicate with each other. So that's introduced pretty early on. But in general, I think I love the way, like you said, they kind of set up, they do a really great job establishing who these people are, what the family dynamic is, and that Jack is like, there's something wrong here. And the way I love, I mean, Shelley Duvall's amazing in this film. Kubrick,
she's fantastic, but I hated her outfit when we first met her. She's wearing like full long johns under a dress, like those red long sleeve and long pants and a dress. I was just like, what is this? But I mean,
you
it's
were
a
like, what is
different
this, and
time.
how quickly can I adopt this fashion sense into my daily life?
No, thank
that's
you.
at least what I was thinking.
She looks like a lady lumberjack.
She really does. Kubrick, Kubrick is notorious for being not a, I mean, I guess you could call it demanding. I mean, he is demanding. He makes his actors do countless takes.
Yeah.
But in particular, he was very purposefully off-putting to Shelley Duvall during the process of making this film, because he wanted her to feel isolated and emotionally disconnected from everyone around her and uncomfortable.
I hate that though.
Yeah, there's a lot of conversation about like, how necessary is that? Like, did you really need to do that? And Kubrick was a firm believer in like, well, I'm doing it because it's going to help the performance. But yeah, in recent years, of course, people have been like, did you need to treat her like that at all? And I know she herself has been pretty outspoken about like, no, it was great. Like, everything was great. I loved working with them. It was exhausting and awful at times, but it was like an incredible experience. And to be fair, I know Jack Nicholson was put through the ringer as well, though.
I'm
I think
sure
the emotional toll they took on her, just trying to make her feel like very on her own, even when they weren't shooting. Yeah, it's a question of like whether or not how far do you go for the art? How far do you go to get the actor in that headspace? Is it necessary, if you've hired the right actor, to torture them when they're not filming? It's
yeah, I mean, if your actor is method or is choosing to go method for that project, then sure. But I feel like that's something that if you're gonna do that, it definitely has to be consensual, or else I feel like it's just like a hostile work environment.
Yeah. I think Kubrick got away with a lot because people loved his movies, and people, he was one of the greatest filmmakers ever. So I think there was a general, as far as I'm kind of like, I think when you work for Stanley Kubrick, you're going to be mentally and physically exhausted. You kind of you know what you're signing up for. I think he's pretty transparent about his demands. That said, yeah, I don't know. The emotional turmoil, it's there on the screen, but I don't know how necessary it was to continue to push it. We'll never know, really, because we don't know what the alternative is. But this is all to say, all three of them are amazing. I love, like you brought up, his name's Danny Lloyd, the boy who plays Danny Torrance. He's so good. I don't know how Kubrick got the performance out of him, because it's so understated and so like subtle, and kid actors are usually like, wow, jeepers, whoa, like they're usually, we've seen bad child actors and it's usually the worst. In a movie like this, if that part didn't work, the whole thing would have fallen apart.
Yeah, that whole part where he's like, Danny's not here.
Yeah,
like, he was so good and creepy. And even when he was Danny, he was also still very like troubled and quiet and creepy. And just the looks that he would give. Like, he did a great job. I was really blown away by him.
There's a moment where he's talking, like when he first sees the twins in the hallway.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Tony, and Tony's like, just remember, it's like a photograph, it's not real. And he's talking, and then the way he shifts into this like worried look, it's like, I think even seasoned adult actors would have trouble like capturing that moment. And the fact that this kid, who I think was maybe 6 or 7, was able to do that is impressive, to say the least. But
yeah, and one of the things I did not really understand was Scatman Crothers' character. Which I loved him. He was great, and
he's awesome. I love his home decor.
Yeah. Like, he was a fantastic character, and I would have liked to know more about him because I didn't quite understand his, like, I mean, I guess, like, he has the same psychic capabilities to a degree that
Right.
Danny does, but maybe not as strong. And he knew, like, what the deal was. So is he, like, part of somehow, like, attracting people to the hotel? Or,
Yeah.
like, I couldn't tell if he was a bad guy and, like, he was kind of evil at first because it
Yeah,
just
it's
seemed a
interesting.
little, like, too, like, the way it was, like, overly nice, you know?
And the way, like, I mean, to be fair, he knows there's something wrong in the house, and
Yeah, he
he
100%
lets them
knows.
stay there. Like, he has a bad feeling. He communicates with Danny so they know they're on the level.
Yeah.
And then he knows, like, oh, don't go into room 237. It's not
Yeah.
right. So to your point, I think that's a good point. I don't remember. I read the book years ago, and I don't remember if this is spelled out in the book. I think uh, Dick Halloran, the character, definitely gets short shrift in the movie. As far
Sure.
as in the book, he helps them escape and he lives, and in this movie he is the only character killed on screen.
Oh, that's
And so
crazy.
Kubrick, there is a lot of conflict between Kubrick and Stephen King, as far as the content of the film, but Kubrick constantly did things like that. Not to, I mean, I think he was kind of enjoying sort of irking
Oh,
Stephen
I'm
King and, like,
sure. I'm
annoying him.
sure.
But part of it was like he wanted the audience, people who had read the book, to not know what was going to happen. So one of the best moments, can you imagine just having read the book and Dick Halloran comes up to save the day, and you have that long shot of him walking down the hallway, and then Jack Nicholson jumps out with an axe and kills him. It's
Yeah.
so, there's something so funny about it to me, that, like,
But
just
that's
imagining Kubrick being like like, just like
right. Well, that's also the moment, though, that Danny wakes up. So
yes.
that's something else that I didn't quite understand. And, like, obviously they were connected in some way.
Yeah.
And I get that a little bit, but then he came back and, like, he was trying to look out for them. So I couldn't figure out, like, if he was good or if he was bad, or if he was trying to, like, in a way help this kid develop his psychic abilities more.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't figure that out. And I when he died, I was kind of like, that's, I mean, that's interesting that you say, like, obviously he lived in the book, and but I I don't know what purpose that character serves other
Right.
than he wakes Danny up out of the Tony possession.
Yeah, I would be curious to go back and reread the book and figure out what it is, because I think in the book there's more emphasis placed on, like, there are special people out in the world. And I think the sequel, Doctor Sleep, which was
Mhm.
also adapted into a
Right.
movie, like, kind of goes down that path a little bit more. Like, Ewan McGregor is playing a grown-up Danny Torrance,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's basically, I think he's like kind of a detective or something. Like, he deals with, like, all these psychic phenomenon and communicating with the dead and things like that. I think, I could be completely wrong, but I think it's explored more in the book. I don't think Kubrick was that interested in exploring it, because I think Kubrick
Because he doesn't
prefers,
read.
well, he doesn't, yeah, he just does not read. Come
He
on
does
now.
not read books, only
He doesn't read
subtitles.
books. No, he does. That's all it is. And I think he is way more, and I am too. Like, I kind of am like, I don't really want to understand. I just want to, like, I prefer feelings over
Yeah.
explanations, because explanations kind of, for me at least, are never as interesting as the mystery. So someone could be like, okay, here's exactly what it means. And I'd be like, oh, okay, I guess that's cool. But I almost prefer to be a little in the dark and confused. And I think Kubrick, just based on his filmography and 2001 and certain ambiguous things that happen in that, I think he is more about the visual cinematic language, telling a visual story that makes you feel certain things without
Yeah.
necessarily offering up an explanation. Like, for him, he's like, it
Well,
doesn't matter.
I get that, but one of the things that was explained that I really did not understand was when Jack Nicholson was in the bathroom and he was having a conversation with the bathroom attendant. And he was telling him, like, hey, I know you killed your wife and daughter, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, haha, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And then they kind of continue on that conversation. And then that bathroom attendant tells him that his son has these psychic abilities and is
Right.
controlling him. So that didn't make any sense to me either.
Well,
I was really
I don't
confused
think
about that.
I don't know if he said he was controlling them. I think he said he was trying to call outside help.
Well,
Like
he
he
said
was
he
like,
was, like, imposing his will on him, and then, like,
yeah,
Jack
so
Nicholson went, "He's a very willful boy."
right. Oh, that's true. I think there's a theory that Danny, his powers are so like they're so unique and special and pronounced that he
Mhm.
somehow, his mere presence, like the house kind of called the family there to bring Danny there, and his
Right.
presence just ignites everything that happens. So
But
there's almost
then
like a
if it was if they was, like, say, calling Danny to bring him there, what was the purpose? Because Danny left. It was
yeah,
to bring
Danny
Jack
escaped.
Nicholson back because he was in that
Yeah.
photo that was 1920. Like,
Yeah,
I just
that's
really
stuff
don't
I don't
understand.
understand. I don't understand it, and I'm like it's fine. Like
It was
it doesn't
great. I enjoyed
it
it
does,
so much, and I love
that's
it, but
not
I
well
still have no idea what actually happened.
well, that's not even to justify, like, I'm not saying like, "Oh, it's because Stanley Kubrick's a master and you don't understand." It is like I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, these are really good points." I don't know if there are actual logical explanations for it, or if it even makes sense, or if it was supposed to make sense. And I personally, due to my tastes and my like leaning into like, yeah, the less I know, the more fascinating it is to me, I kind of look at it and say like, yeah, I don't. What is the ending? What does the last shot mean? Like, and what does
Yeah.
it mean? Like, you're the care. You've always
I
been the
also
caretaker.
thought
Like,
it
it's like,
was
what does that mean? I don't know. Okay.
yeah, and I thought a couple choices that they made with the whole, idea of everyone was gone for the winter and it
Hmm.
was just they were there. They were there for what was it, like 2 months before they ever got any snowfall. So, I thought that was a little weird that the resort was closed down for that much
Right.
of it. And it's like, okay, and then anytime at night in the maze, it was fully lit. And that also doesn't
Yes.
make any sense to me. Like, why would they be powering that like
But
year
powering that,
round?
like, maybe they just turned on the lights. The ghosts turned on the lights.
Maybe.
It's the Shining, Carly. The Shining
Yeah, but you
shone a
would think
light
little
in
Danny
on the
wouldn't want
maze.
him to be able to see him. So if the
You would
lights were off, he'd have a better chance of running away.
you are breaking this movie.
I
You're
know. I
Stanley
know that's
Kubrick
like a
is
minor
rolling.
detail, but
He
I
is
think
rolling
about
around
that.
in his grave, and
It's
he
like the
is
electrical
very
bill on
upset.
that maze alone when they're not making any money. And
I
what's also crazy, it's a mountain resort that's off season is the winter. Like,
yes,
and they explain that as, oh, it's so remote. Okay, or so remote that like the people can't get out here once the storms, there's no plows, blah blah blah. Why don't you
right.
sell packages to people who aren't trying to go anywhere?
They should
Like,
maybe there's a lot of stuff here with this hotel that just like
it makes no
who
sense.
yeah, where's the what is the fine print, like nobody thought this through.
Horrible
You
business
should really
model.
be, I think you should be running the hotel because they would be making more money year round
I
for
have no
sure.
interest in running a hotel like that.
I don't
Hard
want to, I
pass.
definitely don't want to run this hotel.
No, no,
uh
no, no,
but
no, no.
let's talk a little bit about, okay, so we're building up to their arrival.
Yeah.
You were into it. You were never bored, you said. You
Oh,
were kind
never.
of,
From
you
the
enjoy.
opening shot, I was like, this is beautiful. Like, and I
Yes.
mean, Stephen King is like that. The whole vibe is known for like these gorgeous woods and, like winterscapes or things like that. And they're
Yeah.
creepy, but in such beautiful settings. So I
Yeah.
really, really loved the look of just like him driving on his way out to the hotel and then seeing the hotel. Like, everything was beautiful.
Yeah, and I really enjoy I love when the family's driving together and they're just he's like, I know what cannibalism is, Mom. I saw it on the television. You see, he saw it on the television. I love Nicholson's performance in that. There was a criticism against his performance where like a few people, I think Stephen King hated the movie. He still hates the movie, I think. But it was like, oh, Nicholson is unhinged from the beginning. But there's something kind of like shockingly funny about that.
It is.
To me.
I don't think
it's almost it almost is it's not a comedy, but there are things about it that are so like when he's so pissed off at her for interrupting his writing.
Well, yeah.
There's
he's
something
a sober
very, very funny
writer, which is like super funny. So of course he seems a little like wiry at the beginning because he's a writer that hasn't written anything. He's taking his family to this new place. He's sober. And like one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that he seemed to not do any of the work. It was entirely Wendy. She was like checking on the generators. She was doing all the cooking, blah, blah, blah. And all he was doing was writing.
Yeah.
So
what do you think the commentary there is?
I think
we've got the alpha male who's like the head of the family I brought us here because it's part of my work. But the wife is doing all the work while he kind of hangs around.
Yeah, I think it's a man losing his mind over never being able to be a true provider or a protector of his family.
A man who feels like emasculated, like he doesn't feel like he is the provider.
He injured his son, because of his drinking. He obviously isn't able to make any money off of his passion. So he's taking these other jobs that, kind of displace his family and move them about. And, like Danny doesn't have like a real sense of friendship with anybody. And like, he's like got an imaginary friend that lives in his mouth. Like,
that's such a creepy. I don't know why that's so creepy.
Like, ugh.
The fact that he's like, it's like, who's Tony? He's a little boy that lives in my mouth. There's something so disturbing about that.
No, he goes back down into my stomach.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know what. It's just a conversation. It's just words, but something about the way it's said. So like, he's a little boy who lives in my mouth.
You know what it makes me think of? Because I just saw this movie too, Venom.
No, I think Venom for sure is very, very Kubrick inspired.
Yeah, like that's a little, now that we're just talking about it, I'm like, oh man, like how Venom just pops out sometimes.
We should just talk about Venom, Let There Be Carnage.
Oh my God, that movie was awful, but I loved
it. But no, I love, there's so much like, okay, so many people say this is one of the scariest, if not the scariest.
Oh no, that's garbage. Garbage.
You don't think think it's scary?
I think it's it is scary, but I don't think it's the scariest movie of all time. I was never watching it and like how I feel watching other horror movies. Like,
what's a horror movie that really scared you?
Oh gosh, it was this Spanish film, and it was based off of a true story.
I thought you were gonna say it was this film called Venom.
No. I'll have to figure out what the name of it was. I can't remember.
Send it to me because I'd love to see it.
But it was based off of a true story, and at the end they show these police photos, and it is some of like the scariest, like weird kind of poltergeisty, like possession stuff that happens within this family and this girl at the time of her menstruation and like, like her puberty and like, and they're legitimate police photos of, and many of the police officers that came to the scene had to be treated for like shock therapy, like they had PTSD. Yeah, and the film itself at the beginning, it was a little corny because it starts out with like these three girls doing a Ouija board thing, but after that movie scared the crap out of me.
Okay, so that's kind of what you're based. I mean, so here's what I'll say. I think in some weird way, I think there is a difference between a great horror film and saying the greatest horror film and the scariest horror film. So I'm kind of with you. The Shining is a film that I think is pretty horrifying at points.
Yes.
And is pretty creepy for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as outright scares go, it's pretty muted. Like there aren't many like big scares. There's a lot of moments that are like that will catch you off guard, like the girls in the hallway. It's like, oh, this is weird.
Yeah.
And then being like, come play with us.
And then
Danny.
the dead lady
That's
in
creepy.
the tub.
Dead lady in the tub, I think, is the most horrifying.
But part of what made it not scary for me is just the ridiculousness of Jack Nicholson making out with that like gorgeous woman, and then all of a sudden it turns into that. So like. That for me wasn't as scary as.
I think for me that scene, the whole thing is so unsettling because it's like, okay, now there's a naked woman and now he's making out with her, which to your point is a little ridiculous. But I think because the music is so off-putting, and then what it shifts into is so like, just so gross. Like it just is so like, it throws me off. But the naked woman, I think to be fair, his expression when he sees her is like very like because he's like, what's going on? And then he sees her and it's this beautiful woman and he just shifts into this like, oh
yeah, like it's ridiculous at points where there were moments where I like kind of giggled a little bit or I wasn't like scared by, and it was interesting to look at. Like, and again, I loved this movie, but I still don't really have an idea of what happened fully or what the full story is, especially the way it ended with that picture. Like that really confused me. So,
well, there's a very clear, like, I think there are people who would say, oh, it's all in his head, but there are very clear indications that that's not the case, because there are conversations that happen away from Jack, like between Danny and what's his name, Dick Halloran.
Yeah,
where they are talking about stuff. There's stuff where, like, for instance, when he's locked in the pantry and something lets him out. Like there are things where it's like, well, this isn't like, there's psychological elements to it, but there's also very clearly something sinister happening that is beyond the realm of reality. So I don't know if I buy it, like if it's like, oh, it's all in his head. I don't buy that. Like I think it is like, oh no, this is a haunted house for sure. There are elements and forces at work here that are
almost in like
terror.
the Amityville horror kind of way, you know, like where it's like, there's something going on in the house that's like making the dad do this stuff. Say, you know, like, but I feel like if that had been made more clear and just, you know, I think it would have been scarier, but I think the payoff at the end with that photo would have made some kind of sense.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
One of the things that really bothered me with the reveal of the photo at the end was like, you see the picture and Jack Nicholson is clearly the man in front, like at the very front at the bottom. And I spotted him immediately. And it's like, okay.
It's hard to miss Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, but then they try and make it seem like, who are they looking at? Because he's not dead center. So then it zooms in a little more and it's like, I know what you're getting at, but it's still not. Yeah. Right. And then again on his, and it's like, yes. Yeah. But why? Like, that part got me.
I gotcha. Okay. So is there anything in the movie that did like legitimately scare you? Like Room 237 is a good scene. Was there anything that really gave you the heebie-jeebies?
Just when the little
Do you like
boy...
my use of the term heebie-jeebies?
I do. I love it.
Thank you.
That's good. The ookie spookies.
I haven't heard that.
Well, hey, you're welcome. So feel free to use that all Spooktober long.
Every day.
Yeah. So whenever Danny was riding around on his tricycle, that kind of creeped me out. Especially when he first tried to get into the room and couldn't, and then was like kept looking back, and then kind of kick-started his. Yeah.
Like him on the carpet, then the floor.
Oh, I love that.
The floor.
It was like grrr, and then silent. Yeah, grrr, that was really cool. And that creeped me out when Jack Nicholson hugged Danny. that creeped me out. I was so disturbed by the look on his face and the way that he was petting him and holding him. And like Danny the whole time was just kind of like not expressing anything and is very deadpan, and then asks, are you going to hurt us? And like just that whole interaction, while it didn't scare me, it just gave me such a like bad feeling while I was watching it, and I got so uncomfortable, which is the point, obviously. And then just when I guess Wendy's trying to get out of the bathroom and Jack Nicholson is like breaking in and she's screaming and stuff like that, I was scared for her about what was going to happen. But the movie overall, there wasn't any moment where like I was like so freaked out by where I was like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have bad dreams, or like it's gonna be all weird, or I'm gonna have to palate cleanse this with like an episode of something silly. You know?
It's almost too beautiful. Like I not like that's not a that is not. That sounds like a backhanded compliment, and it's not. I mean, it's a film that is so stunning and so well made that even the creepiness, it's like you can't look away. You're just admiring it, and I love the finale when it just everything goes insane.
Oh yeah.
I love the score. I don't know who did the chanting of like the weird creepy chanting.
Oh, that was great.
Wendy is just running around holding a knife, by the way, not running with a knife, just flailing it around. She is not practicing good safety.
No, but you could tell that was a safety blade. Like the way that all of those prop knives look, it's like they just wrapped them in duct tape.
So you think at that point, the film and the reality within the film were starting to cross over, and she knew it was a safety knife, so she's like, it's okay.
It's fine. It's fine. I can just run around.
But I love just like the people wearing masks and doing sexual things to each other in hotel rooms.
Too.
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, that part made me laugh. And like she goes up the stairs and looks down the hallway, and there's that guy in the pig mask getting like a blowjob. I was like, what?
Yeah, like it's so. There's something so unsettling about it, but also it's like, what is happening now?
Was, and I guess 1921 was that during Prohibition?
Maybe.
Yeah, so there's some weird stuff happening there.
Yeah, weird stuff.
Yeah,
so
weird ghosts.
There's another thing that I think is interesting where Stanley Kubrick, the film was released in 1980. David Lynch's Eraserhead was released in 1977, and Kubrick loved Eraserhead. Before they made this movie, he basically sat everyone down in the cast and crew and was like, watch this movie. This is what I want The Shining to feel like. So Eraserhead has I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a lot of like stuff that doesn't make sense. It's very dreamlike, very like a very intense sound design that's designed to unsettle you. And
well, then that makes much more sense.
So I think maybe some of the willfully confusing stuff that is not like, there's no explanation, there's no reason why things happen, there's no reason why this or that happened. I think Kubrick was trying to do something that Lynch had done so well with Eraserhead, which is create this nightmarish landscape where it's almost dream logic, where you just don't really understand it, but it's kind of just like you just see it and you feel it, and it makes you feel weird and uncomfortable, even if you don't know why and you can't explain it. Again, I think there is the points that you're making about like it doesn't make sense. I think the source material and the movie that Kubrick made are in some ways kind of fighting against each other. I mean, for sure, Kubrick was like, forget the book, I'll just do my own thing.
Sure.
But I think there's a lot of stuff as far as like the basic elements of the story that were laid out in Stephen King's novel that are here, and ideas that are presented in that novel that are here that are never fully explored to completion. And they are explored to completion in the book. And this is something else I wanted to talk about, which is that Stephen King notoriously does not like this movie. And a lot of what bothered him about it was that in the book, Jack is a very sympathetic character who struggles with alcoholism and is fighting to be a better man.
Yeah.
And the book kind of, I don't know if you care if I spoil it, but the
No,
book
that's
is kind
fine.
of almost, it's more of like a tragic tale of this man who can't quite, like, he tries so hard to recover his soul and doesn't quite do it, but he manages to save his family. So there's a redemptive narrative arc for the character that Kubrick was just like, nope, don't care. This guy is just nuts. And I think I can understand how King, a man who struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction and things like that, who made The Shining is a very personal book for him. He wrote the book and then he put a lot of his own baggage in the book. So I think to see the movie and to see how much of a dump Kubrick took on a lot of that stuff, I understand completely why Stephen King would be like, oh, this is stupid. And I think in recent years, he's like, I accept that it's a masterful film, but also I'm still pissed off about it.
Yeah,
But,
I completely understand that, because it's, any time I've been a big fan of a book and I watch I wouldn't say anytime, but most often, if I am a huge fan of a book and then it becomes a movie, I am 9 times out of 10 disappointed with the film. So I could understand how, like, the creator of a book who had it made into a movie would be upset with what it was made into.
Sure. I think Stephen King's thing was, he said Kubrick is a man who thinks too much and feels too little. And I think it was funny. I think a film critic or somebody else responded. They were like, yeah, but on the other hand, Stephen King is a man who feels too much and thinks too little.
That's great.
So
that's really funny.
I think what we're seeing in, and let me be clear, I love Stephen King. He's one of my favorite authors, and I love Stanley Kubrick. He's one of my favorite filmmakers. And I think what we're seeing here is a really fascinating experiment where two very opposing just two opposing styles had to come together. And the things that you're calling out is like, I'm not fully satisfied by this story in the film. It's like, yeah, these are things, that elements from the book that are never paid off in the film, but they're paid off in the book. So what, like, again, Kubrick was not interested in that. He wanted to create an experience, a nightmarish experience that I think was obviously cinematically focused and not as concerned with storytelling.
Yeah. And then I'm still not too sure about, like, what even really happened in the end. And I read, like, this one theory that, like, Wendy was the one who was nuts, and it was all in, like, her head.
Well, she does see, I mean, at the end when she's running around and she's seeing all this stuff, it's like, is the house now projecting terrors onto her? Like, there isn't a whole lot of logic to it. It's just,
and
it is
the way that she was holding that bat when she was walking up the stairs, I was like, why are you gripping it, like, near the top? Like,
yeah.
like,
she's just lost
you can't swing it. Like, what are you doing?
Well, yeah, I know. I mean, again, if you had been there to give pointers to literally everybody, I think
Stanley Kubrick would have told me to kick rocks.
I've never heard that expression before either, and I love it. Here's something else interesting that you're kind of touching on, I think, with your reaction, but the film was not well received when it was released.
I can understand that, and I do have this, like, this love of older films. Like, I mean, we did Clue, and that was not very well received, and now it's kind of a cult classic. I think sometimes, like, especially Kubrick, who is, like, a little different and out there and doesn't really care to make things for the masses. It just wants to make it, like, how he wants to make it. And especially if Stephen King was like, this sucks. Like, I could imagine that a lot of fans of Stephen King were probably like, oh, yeah, that sucks, and didn't give it a fair chance. And then over time, like, a lot of painters aren't appreciated in their time. A lot of filmmakers aren't appreciated in their time. A lot of musicians, like, there's a lot of people who aren't appreciated in their time because they do things that are too new and too different and don't really fit into what somebody expects to see or wants to see. But then later it's like, oh man, no, the tracking shot or the steady cam, like all these.
You start to see the influence in other works, and you realize, like, oh wait, that is amazing. I think so. What's interesting about Kubrick's career after he made Doctor Strangelove, you know, he did 2001, he did A Clockwork Orange, he did Barry Lyndon, this movie, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut. And each one of those films was poorly received at the time, and in retrospect, hailed a masterpiece. So Kubrick somehow, like, people were just on his case all the time when he, like, with every new movie. And this film, this is gonna, I think this is the first, I could be wrong, but I think 1980 was the first year of the Razzies. You know the Razzies, right?
Oh yeah. The Shining was nominated for the Razzies.
Kubrick was nominated for Worst Director.
That's so funny. I heard a story, I forget what movie it was, but they talked about how that was the movie that sparked the creation of the Razzies. Because it was just like, and it wasn't The Shining, but I forget what it was. But that's interesting. That's really interesting that it was nominated for that.
It just goes to show you how, again, in retrospect, now people are like, oh, it's the greatest horror film ever made. And at the time, like you said, I think it's just like people aren't ready for it, or they just don't care, or they're just whatever it is.
But also it doesn't make sense. Even today, and even though
I don't think so either.
It doesn't make sense. So if you're thinking about like, oh, let me watch a movie that like I understand, even if it scares me or creeps me out or whatever, I still understood what I watched. Like, even today, it doesn't make sense. And there are so many theories that people have about how it could make sense or what would make it make sense. And all of them are all over the place. Like,
yeah.
And
there's a whole documentary. There's a documentary called Room 237 that I have not seen. But it is like, I don't know where it's streaming or if it's available anywhere, but it's basically about all these insane fans who have found the most, like, just like almost terrifying, like obsessive clues within the films. Like, oh, they've come up with all these theories of like, this is why this happens, because this is why this is that color, because da-da-da. And it's I need to see it. It sounds amazing.
There was this one theory that like one of my coworkers was telling me about. He brought up that Wendy theory to me, and I was like, well, that makes no sense. But he was like, well, when like they were originally in that food stall room, the pantry, there was like a light switch on one wall, and then when she brings Jack Nicholson and drags him in there, that light switch isn't there anymore. So if you are paying attention to that, then it's all in like Wendy's head. And like there was stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like that's a reach. Like I think that might have been a set design issue where they just didn't push it over like the shelf far enough to reveal the switch, or you know.
I think you are right. But Kubrick for sure was a notorious perfectionist.
Yeah,
and
see,
there is something
too.
There is something to be said for he is so meticulous, and it's, I mean, no one's perfect, so there are mistakes that should happen, but there is a lot of clout in the theory of Kubrick purposefully did certain things
you know what?
because he's that crazy and obsessive, or he was that crazy and obsessive.
I wonder if at times, based off of that thought, and if he was aware that people thought of him like that, and there was a moment where he gets to the final cut and realizes there is some silly continuity mistake like that. If he's like, you know what? This will be a talking point for years to come.
He knew.
He's just trolling everybody.
I think maybe at a certain point, if I were Stanley Kubrick, I would get a kick out of it.
I bet you he does, and I bet you there are things like that, and I bet you he's somewhere cracking up about the fact that somebody's arguing, like having an online angry debate about this.
Yeah, I think The Shining, again, as horrifying as it is kind of in some ways a comedy. Like it is Jack Nicholson's performance is so zany at
there
times.
There are definite comedic beats, but I feel like that goes so well with horror, you know?
Yeah. Like she's like, there's a woman, she tried to strangle Danny, and he just looks at her and he goes, you out of your mind? Like the beats are so like, that was a punchline.
That also was interesting to me, that moment, because Danny had like visible markings on him. Like those strangulation marks or burns almost in the shape of like a hand on him. And that's when Tony takes over.
Yeah.
And I'm so confused. Like, okay, if his family was drawn and meant to be there, and maybe Tony was trying to like take on full possession of this boy's body, and now, he's able to live and, do whatever he wants because he has control of Danny, then what does Scatman Crothers dying have to do with him waking up?
Well,
And
I don't know that Tony was a malicious force. I think Tony just took over because
because
Danny was
Danny
so
got so scared.
traumatized.
Yes,
Yeah, he
but
was
that's
so
also what I want to know. It's like, what happened?
yeah.
Like, did
Something, a
that lady
ghost
in the
tried to strangle
tub?
him.
Did she get out and get at him?
Yeah,
But
maybe he was
she's
just like, that's gross. I never want to see that
or
again, and
those
that's
little
what traumatized him.
girls, like,
Yeah.
because they were like, come and play with us.
Well,
I
again,
do like.
this is a really good point to speak to, because I think it's more like, okay, it's like, okay, probably the old woman strangled him, and we don't see that happen, and it's more terrifying to me that we don't know and we don't see it than if we had seen explicitly, like, oh, this woman's trying to hurt him. I think there's something more disturbing about, like, there are marks on his neck, he went into that room, what is in there, there's something in
Yeah,
there,
but then
than
that
if
never
we knew
really.
explicitly.
I get that, and I don't need to know explicitly, but I'd at least like later for me to have some resolution as to be like, oh dang, that's probably what happened.
Right, right.
Even, and it's still like creepy to think about or think back on it, but I feel like there was a lot of setup for stuff with payoff that just made me like, uh, oh well,
Yeah,
that's not.
I think it's Kubrick was not interested in paying this stuff off. Like, I think it is a good point. I think, like, adapting this novel, he took a lot of this, like, the elements and the setup, like, and the characters, and then just was like, I don't care. I just want to make it like my own thing. It's more of a cinematic expression, and I don't really care if things make sense. I'd be curious if you read The Shining to see, like, if that's like, oh, this gave me the things
Oh
I
yeah, maybe I
needed, because I'm
should.
sure it does. I'm sure it
Yeah.
does have, like, from what I recall, it's very like, oh, this is what's happening, this is what it means, and things like that. And it's very clear that Kubrick was like, I want this to be more nightmarish and not nonsensical, but like, I'm not interested in the explanations. I just want to
I
kind of bombard the characters and the audience with these strange things. And whether or not it works, to your point, you're like, it didn't work for me, but for others, for me, I was like, yeah, great, okay. But I see
yeah.
what you're saying. I mean, there are things that don't make any
Well, one of
sense.
the things that I really liked that I thought kind of did pay off a little bit was like the way the twins were introduced was when Danny was playing darts. And other people are at this hotel walking around, packing up and leaving. Like families are packing up and leaving, the staff are
Right.
packing up and leaving. And those two little girls walk in together and don't say anything. And he
Mm,
looks at them and is just staring at them, and then they turn around and walk out, and it's like, well, are those okay? So maybe those are real girls, maybe they're not, and then they pop up
right.
again later. And I liked that at the beginning you're given the idea of that some of the people that they were dealing with were never actually there to begin with. And
Right.
I was thinking maybe that was the deal with Scatman Crothers for a little bit. But
Hmm.
then when he was like phoning the police, and then, he comes back and gets murdered and all that, I
Yeah,
just,
there's a
I,
very meticulous, like, we spend a lot of time with him as he works his way to the house, which again, to me, is almost a joke. Like, it's like, let's spend a lot of time. The hero is on his way. He's gonna
yes.
save the day, and then he dies. Like, it's just that's very, very funny. Like, that we
But
spent so much time
yeah,
with
and
him.
that's why I'm so confused about who he is and what he is and his real main purpose. And
Well, I think your confusion is merited. My only advice is, like, someday watch the movie again, but,
yeah.
like,
Oh, I definitely will.
don't worry about any of that. And it's not, I
No.
don't know, that's kind of a cop out, because I think a lot of people, maybe people who aren't fans of this film, would be like, oh, you're just making excuses. But I really think this is a film that is not designed logically.
Yeah,
It's designed emotionally and visually.
I
and
definitely let it take me on the journey that it
on the
had
ride,
us on. Yeah, and I went for the ride and I had a great time, but stepping off
these are
and
things you
stepping
can't help but
away.
yeah.
Yeah, and looking back and just thinking about it, and even in this
Yeah.
discussion talking about it, I really don't have an opinion on what actually happened, and I couldn't tell anybody what really happened, and it would just be like, oh, if you asked me to describe The Shining, it would be like, okay, well, there's this creepy little boy who has like a voice in his head,
And
and
maybe his dad was possessed, but also his dad was an alcoholic,
his
and
dad
maybe
is
he
a
was just
ghost from
crazy.
1921.
Right, but maybe
And
not, and he was the caretaker, but
yeah,
maybe, and
and
then Wendy has a baseball bat and she runs with knives, and I don't understand.
yeah, and there's all of this stuff when Jack Nicholson's character starts to see the ghosts, like the first time when he walks into that bar and starts talking to the bartender. I was like, what is going on
I
here?
love that so
And then
much.
the
I love
party, the
that.
big ballroom.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved all of that, but I didn't understand that. And I just,
Right.
and the, oh man, when she was flipping through the pages that he had written, that creeped me out. That really creeped me
Yes.
out. I
All
was
work
like,
and no play. Yep.
because
One of
he's
the
just in there,
best.
type, 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 and he thinks he's like, you've interrupted me, and then he's typing, and then you finally see what it is he's typing, and it's just like, what
Also,
is wrong with this
Kubrick's
guy?
his slow zoom in on close-ups of creepy faces, like Jack Nicholson just staring out the window as the camera zooms in on him,
Oh yeah.
watching Danny and Wendy. I love that stuff is what sticks with me, like those just creepy moments where the film is not overtly like in your face
Yeah.
scary. It's
But it's just creepy.
sometimes, but
Like
it's just unsettling.
even when she's rolling the breakfast cart through the empty hotel across that big
Yeah.
empty lobby, like that was creepy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
So
was definitely creepy. It was beautiful. I would not say at any point like I was terrified or so scared. It is, I guess, a scary movie, but
yeah.
like in my mind of the type of horror that scares me, this wasn't it.
This wasn't that.
Yeah.
But do you think The Shining is worthy of its current day reputation? Do you think it's a classic?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
I think
great.
it is a classic. I think it's a great movie to watch. I understand why it's like people study it or have influence from it, or I understand the debate in what really happened, and I truly think that any film that like will hold up ever has to be able to spark a lot of debate and conversation. And I think this film does a great job in that because it is
Yeah.
confusing, but it's not confusingly bad. It's confusing because you are so invested and you are watching it and you are paying attention. And it's like, why can't I figure this out? But I
Yeah.
think
I
that might
agree.
be
Yeah.
part of it too. Like Jack Nicholson couldn't figure it out. Danny couldn't figure it out. Wendy couldn't
Yeah.
figure it out. Nobody knew what was going on.
Nobody,
And it was,
yeah, everyone leaves like just they were traumatized, terrified, and they escaped. Like
yeah, and from the beginning, nobody really knows what's going on with Danny. So
Yep.
it starts off with this kind of cloud of confusion and like this immediate, like when we're introduced to that character, okay, something's off with him. And then you're like, oh wait, no, the dad is like maybe abusive and an alcoholic. And then Jack Nicholson,
Right.
you're like, okay, something is off with him. And like there's just all of it. It's so hard to figure out.
It sounds. I mean, it sounds like you loved it, but like these things are certainly like maddening. Like if like to think
But
about,
that's the
like to try
point,
to.
probably.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Maybe the
that's part
movie
of
is
it.
designed to make us go crazy.
Which I wouldn't say I've gone crazy. I'm confused. I can let it go and I can continue to live my life, and I don't need to like argue with somebody about like what the real meaning or what the real message or story is in this. I loved it. I had a great time watching it. I'm so glad I finally did. And I'm so glad I got the chance to chat with you about all of this because
Yeah.
you're my favorite person to talk movies with.
You are the best, Carly. I love talking about movies with you. I'm so glad you enjoyed this.
Oh,
And I'm
so much.
I think I would encourage you there's so much great behind the scenes stuff there's a documentary that Stanley Kubrick's daughter made of just behind the scenes B-roll of just them filming the movie.
Oh, cool.
There's so much good stuff. I mean, on IMDb, Wikipedia, about the production history and just the thought processes behind it, and like the release and how people hated it and then came to love it. Like, the movie has so much great information. Room 237, I still haven't seen it, but I hear it's amazing, and I would encourage you to check that out. But there's just so much, like, it's a gift that keeps on giving. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's fantastic, and I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad I got to watch it, and I'm glad I got to do it around this, spooky time of Halloween.
This is the time. This is the time to make it happen.
Time to do it. And what's even funnier is this past weekend, out in Hollywood right now, they have this thing called like the Icons of Darkness, and it's just like a silly little walkthrough museum, but they have a fantastic Jack Nicholson display. Like a full silicone, like life-size display, and I guess the jacket that he's wearing was his costume that he used, and I think the axe that he's holding was the on-set axe. But it's him, like, when he's like all messed up and like walking through the maze, so there's like, little snow. Like, they did a really great job on that display, but I saw that there and I was like, amazing. Oh, perfect timing.
Now you get it, you understand.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, so let's do our final ratings.
Okay.
So on a scale from 1 to 5 red rums, with 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest.
Oh, because then in the mirror backwards it was murder.
It's murder, yep.
But still, some of the letters were also backwards.
They were, yes. So
yeah,
you can't. So Danny can't. He's a little kid. He can't be expected to perfect those backward R's. So yeah. What do you say? How many would you give it?
I would give it 4.
Okay, great. I give it 5. So that's that. We did it. You watched The Shining. You were officially a person who has seen The Shining.
And I loved it.
Welcome.
And I will tell people, it's great. It doesn't make sense, but it's not like bad.
But it's great. Well, Carley, as always, it's a pleasure to have you on. Can you tell the good people at home what you do and where they can find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. That's the only social media I have, and it's at Carley Does Makeup, Carley Does Makeup. And we just had a bunch of really great shows come out. If you haven't seen Midnight Mass on Netflix, check that out. It's fantastic. We did some really cool stuff for that. And Impeachment is currently out, or is currently airing on the FX network. And we did the Linda Tripp and the Paula Jones and the Bill Clinton makeups.
Yes. And all of this, you have lots of amazing stuff on your Instagram. That
go check that out for some cool behind the scenes-y stuff. And also the newest season of CSI Las Vegas is now currently airing, and I did a few episodes for that show as well.
Oh my God, you're doing too much. You're the best.
It's been such a crazy year, and like I'm so privileged to still be working through all of COVID and to still be able to do all of this. So. And I appreciate you wanting me to always come on and chit chat with you about movies, because it's like my favorite thing to do.
Well, I mean, but it's great. And you're doing such great work. So everybody go follow her. And if you want to follow me, you can find me on Twitter at YayShawnDoorman. You can find me on Letterboxd at ShawnDoorman05. And I'm on Instagram. I don't post cool makeup stuff, but if you want to follow me, I'm at ShawnDoorman on there. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Happy almost Halloween, and we will. Ooh,
so spooky.
You like that? We spared no expense for these sound effects, and we will see you at the movies.